26M, 3 years with fiancé, 24F. She's got me paying for her entire family. Is this getting out of hand? I'm 26, earning a high salary that puts me in a completely different financial bracket than my fiancé, who's 24. We've been together for 3 years and engaged for a few months, but her constant financial demands are really testing my limits. A few days ago, her cousin had a medical emergency and needed a large sum for hospital bills. It was a significant amount, one I couldn't ignore. I told my fiancé that I simply couldn't pay it. She went off on me, calling me selfish and saying if I truly loved her, I'd help her family. Her mom even sent me a text saying I was wrong for not stepping up. And it didn't end there. Just a few days later, her uncle, who I've never even met, reached out and asked me for a loan to fund a business idea. He made it sound urgent, and of course, my fiancé was right there, nodding like it was no big deal. I said no, and once again, my fiancé guilt-tripped me, saying, "This is how my family survives, why can't you just help?" It's a pattern now, whether it's paying for vacations, covering hospital bills, or funding business ventures, I'm always expected to foot the bill. I'm starting to feel like I'm just a walking ATM, not a partner. TLDR, my fiancé, who comes from a lower-income background, expects me to cover her family's bills and emergencies, even though I make a lot more. After her uncle asked for a loan, I'm wondering if this is getting out of hand. Stories number 2. Wife 26F told me 30M to go sleep on the couch. I refused to and now she won't talk to me. This whole thing started last week when I decided to buy a project car for me and my daughter to work on as a father and daughter thing. My daughter, wife's stepdaughter, is really into old cars, and I figured that we would restore one together while I'm young and have the energy. We went on a road trip to pick up the car and trailer, bring it back home. All I told my wife was that I was going to pick up a surprise for my daughter. Get back and wife is not happy about me purchasing the car. The car cost us $12K. Wife lectures me about being reckless with our money. She's upset that I didn't ask her permission to buy the car. Then I respond back with, you have a 2023 Range Rover, a $300 a month gym membership, not to mention the Peloton bike, and don't spending $10,000 to vacation yearly. Keep in mind my wife doesn't work and hasn't worked in years. I drive a 14-year-old truck that's paid for and I work out at Workout Anytime for $20 a month. Later that night my wife tells me to go sleep on the couch, which is the first time she's said this in our 4-year marriage. I refuse to leave the $5,000 bed that I paid for. I thought telling your husband to sleep on the couch was only a TV thing. My mother never told my father to go sleep on the couch. Anyways, I slept in my bed that night. I offered my wife to go sleep on the couch or in the spare bedroom but she declined. The following morning my wife started crying and throwing a tantrum about how I disrespected her by not leaving our room. I guess her mother told her about how she shouldn't let this slide. Wife says she is going to give me the silent treatment until I apologize about not sleeping on the couch when asked. At this point it's not about the car anymore, which is why I'm standing my ground and decided not to apologize. It's been 4 days now and my wife is still upset. We're still sleeping in the same bed. The crazy part is that she still wants to have sex, but after it's back to being silent. Maybe I'm oblivious, but what this all mean? Maybe I just need to apologize so things return back to normal. That's my life at the moment. On the other hand, I got to work on the car with my daughter. We're hoping to get it running over Thanksgiving. Stories number 3. I, 31M, want my GF, 31F, to sign a prenup as I bring more into the relationship. She don't understand why. My girlfriend and I have been happily together since 2022, and I love her dearly. She's been incredibly sweet and supportive throughout our relationship. We've had minor disagreements, but we've never raised our voices or resorted to personal insults. She's caring, hardworking, and currently balancing work with furthering her education. Financially, I earn $120,000 a year, have been in a job I love for 6 years, and own my $650,000 condo outright with no debt. I cover all household expenses, including the maintenance, utilities, and groceries, while my girlfriend only pays her phone bill. She earns $46,000 annually, doesn't have health insurance, she's on mine, and doesn't own a car, she uses mine while I take public transport. She also revealed to me that she has a $40,000 debt to a family friend from over a decade ago, though the friend has never pressed her to repay it. Out of love and wanting to improve her situation, I suggested buying a larger house so she could have a dedicated study space. Given my past divorce, which was amicable but left me cautious, I proposed a common law prenup to protect our respective contributions to the house if we were to split. This agreement would account for down payments, appreciation, and invested mortgage payments. However, she rejected the idea outright, saying it made her feel devalued and that I was looking down on her. I've tried to explain that my suggestion is meant to protect both of us and ensure a stable future. She's putting $70,000 down payment while I'm putting down $550,000, but she views it from an emotional perspective. I'm struggling to help her understand my position. Is this difference in perspective a potential deal breaker? TLDR, GF doesn't want to sign a prenup for a home purchase even though I'm putting significantly more into the relationship financially. Help me show her my perspective. Stories number 4. My 33F husband, 34M, just blew up our relationships with our families. What now? Disclaimer, yes, this happened because of politics. TLDR, my husband blew up at both mine and his family over politics/morals, deciding to block them from ours and expectant daughter's life, leaving me caught up in everything with no say. My husband and I have been married 8 years, together for 11.5 years. We are finally expecting our first child, a daughter, in just 30 days. We are very much on the same page when it comes to morals and parts of politics that overlap, for example, pro-choice, and the government has no right to have any power over that. That being said, this isn't necessarily about politics but caused by politics. We live about 3 to 3.5 hours away from our immediate families, which means we see them only 1 or 2 times per year. We would see them more, but we have to go to them, and between my family only living there half the time and his being very busy, and incapable of planning really anything, it just hasn't happened. My family is very Republican. Not in the sense of worshipping Trump, but in the sense Democrats/liberals are completely unreasonable, immature, narrow-minded, uneducated sheep. Yes, it's been a problem. Years ago I finally snapped and said that if they wanted a relationship, politics are to never be discussed. This didn't go over well and we were no contact for well over a year. Since breaking no contact about 4 years ago, pandemic was a factor as I worked directly with it, it has been an extremely slow process to build a relationship. Filled with holes because of many other issues refusing to be addressed, but something. My husband's family is very moderate immediate and extremely liberal extended. That being said, his siblings are some of the most important people in his life and their opinions hold some of the highest values. He especially values the relationship between him and his older sister, 10 years older, and her husband. I'm not nearly as close with them but still adore them for all they have done and sacrificed for my husband and their younger sisters. Yesterday was the baby shower we planned with our families. Things started rocky because the older sister, her husband, their adult son, and mother/MIL couldn't come, equating to 1/3 of our guest list. I was devastated as I was especially looking forward to spending time with them. After some comfort from my husband and a long shower, I pulled myself together to still try and have a nice time. Well, then things wound down and we went back to my parents' house where we were staying for the weekend. I should have known better than to expect things to be okay and the elephant in the room to continue being ignored. It started with my dad bringing up RFK as pick for HHS and then my husband bringing up Gates. It didn't take long for a full-blown screaming and name-calling fight to erupt. I 100% believe in the points my husband was making but did not agree with how he handled things. Was my dad equally terrible? Absolutely. He was no better, but it was clearly my husband escalating things until he stormed off. He threw our things back into the suitcase, texted me he was leaving, and asked if I was coming. I should probably mention that I have a freeze response to situations. Directly involved or not, all I can do in high-conflict situations is stay still and silent for even minutes after things stop. So when my husband was asking me if I was leaving with him, I was still trying to process what just happened. Eventually he left the house and had his cousin pick him up. For the next 2 hours I was trying to do damage control with my parents. I tried to explain how and why these things scared us so much, and how we feared for our daughter, but it really didn't get through. The whole time my husband was texting my parents saying how they are never allowed in our home again or allowed to be in our daughter's life. Finally, around 10 p.m., I had enough and decided to just pack things up, get my husband, and drive back to our home. It was not an easy decision because I was emotional, exhausted, and did not think driving 3 hours in the middle of the night through country roads was safe. And I knew I would be stuck driving the whole way because my husband was at a bar with his cousin. I left with both my mom and I crying and my dad just focused on getting the car loaded. Picking up my husband was a separate nightmare. He didn't want to leave at first, and when I finally got him in the car he started yelling at me. He took my lack of going after him or leaving the house with him as me choosing my parents over him. That I didn't actually believe in the same things because I wouldn't stand up for him. He then just kept demanding I pull over and let him out as it was clear where my loyalties actually lie. I was hysterically crying and just begging him to stop as I just wanted to go home. Save for my sniffles and sharp breathing, things were quiet for about an hour when my husband said he just cut off his family too. That surprised me, so I asked why. Turns out none of them voted. This got my husband upset all over again, and he began badgering them, saying how he couldn't understand that as a nurse, his sister, why she would refuse to vote on things that would directly impact her in her work, and that it was a slap in the face for all they went through growing up, reliant on government-funded services. She texted back, "I don't have to justify a damn thing to you," and my husband proceeded to do the same thing with them as he did with my parents. We traveled in silence the rest of the way, and I got us home just before 2 a.m. It's now the afternoon of the same day, and I have no idea what to do. I feel a bit betrayed because I had no say in any of this, but I'm stuck dealing with the fallout. I feel broken and guilty because the life I had pictured for our daughter with loving extended family just got ripped away. I feel torn between my husband and our families. And I have no idea what to do. I have not talked to my husband today at all. To be honest, I don't even know what to say. What do I even do? I don't even know what I want, but I do know that I'm not feeling happy or excited about having our daughter anymore. Any advice would be appreciated. Stories number 5. Me, 40F, and my husband, 41M, together 6 years. He snooped on my phone and found something I did 16 years ago. Why is he mad? Backstory. For months my husband has been suspicious for months that I'm cheating, even though I've never even messaged another man since before our first date. He snooped on my phone and found a message from 16 years ago, so 10 years before we got together, where I was short of money, so sent a mechanic some nudes in lieu of payment for supplying and fitting an alternator. He called me all sort of names and I got mad back and said I'll never trust him and I think he's projecting. On to the update, and like many of you suggested, he was projecting and he's the one who's cheating. I left for my sister's for a few days when I wrote that post. Driving past a Premier Inn near her house and saw his car outside, waited by it for 3 hours where he eventually emerged with another woman. He said it was the first time and he thought we'd split up. She said to him, "What are you talking about and who is this?" Referring to me. He literally ran off like a coward. I spoke to this woman who turned out to be lovely, and she said they'd been seeing each other for over a year, but he told her he was living with his religious parents after leaving his wife, so that's why they can never go back to his, and got hotels. She was such a lovely young woman and I ended up having to console her and took her home myself. As for us, I'm back at home and he is now back at his parents, who were very disappointed in him when they heard the news and have been lovely to me. I've started divorce proceedings, but that'll be about a year away, I'd imagine. TLDR, he was projecting and he was the one who's cheating. Stories number 6. My, F33, fiancé, M34, revealed to me that he has a child with another woman. How do I process this? I have been with my fiancé for a year and 3 months, I am 6 months pregnant. I know, we moved very fast with our engagement and getting pregnant. I know it was not a very rational decision, somehow it seemed right at the time. We have had some fights, but in general things seemed good and we have been very excited about meeting our baby soon. Yesterday my fiancé sat me down and told me we needed to talk about something. He told me he was very sorry he did not tell me sooner, that he was afraid I might leave and he was ashamed. He also told me that he understands that I might leave after what he tells me. He told me he has a child with his ex. They were together years ago for 8 years, but met up several years later, had some casual sex and she got pregnant unexpectedly. They did not get together after that, but she wanted to keep the baby. He started dating someone else, that did not work out, and then he met me. The child is 1 year and 3 months old, so she was born right around the time we had started dating. We had been dating for about 2 weeks. Back then, he told me he had to go on a week-long business trip, but actually he was at the hospital and his daughter was born. He has told me that he goes to the gym almost every day, for around 3 hours, but in reality he has also used that time to see his daughter. The mother of his child does not know he is engaged with me and that I am pregnant. He tells me they just do not talk about these kinds of things. She has also blocked me on Facebook, even though I have never tried to contact her. He told me she does not want to know anything about me and that she would probably want to be with him, but he does not have feelings for her. I asked him how come she still has feelings for him, if he has been clear with her that he does not want a relationship and it has been 2 years since their casual sex. He told me I don't know, I guess I am just that great. I am having a hard time processing all of this. My fiancé said he feels better now after getting it off his chest. He says he understands I need time to think about this situation, but he also says he does not want to wait forever for me to decide whether I want to continue this relationship or not. He wanted me to meet his daughter today, but I said it was too soon for me. Now he has bought some diapers and other stuff for when she comes over. He asked me if I would be ready tomorrow. We have not yet bought much for the nursery for our baby, but now he suddenly wants to hurry up and buy a bed for the nursery, so that his daughter could stay the night before our baby is born. I feel overwhelmed trying to process all the information and also sad that the nursery I have been planning for our baby will not just be for our baby. This is not how I imagined having my first child. What are your thoughts on this? Has anyone ever been in a similar situation? How to process all of this and how to move forward. Stories number 7. Pity fucked my 24F friend, 40M, and I'm miserable. How do I fix this? So, I, 24F, have a friend, 40M, who I've known for 6 years. Let's call him Nick. He's been one of the most consistent people in my life. He's awkward but kind, thoughtful, and has been there for me through some really dark times. I love him more than anything. Now some context, I've only had sex once, at 16. Saying it wasn't good, would be an understatement. The guy was 30, he offered me a drug and that was the only reason I agreed. It hurt a lot and I was barely conscious. Ruined the high as well. I was left ashamed and embarrassed about what I have done to myself. My insides were hurting for a week. That experience destroyed any desire I had for sex or anything romantic, even kissing. For years, I convinced myself that I would never, ever have sex again. It scared me. I didn't want to give anyone that kind of power over me again. Fast forward to a few nights ago. Nick and I were having one of our usual late-night talks over the phone, and somehow the topic of sex came up. He casually mentioned that he's still a virgin, hasn't even kissed anyone. I wasn't surprised. Nick is shy, introverted, and not the kind of guy who dates much. He's really anxious around most people. When we first met, he couldn't even look me in the eye. I could tell from the way he talked about it that it was eating at him. He joked about being too old to start now, but it was clear that he was insecure, maybe even ashamed and sad. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I shared my story with him, how my first, and only, time was disgusting, how it left me feeling broken, and how I'd sworn off sex entirely because I didn't think I could ever trust anyone enough to do it with them. And then Nick nervously suggested something that shocked me, maybe you should try with me. He wasn't joking. He said that I deserved to experience sex with someone who actually cared about me, someone who would respect me and make sure it was a positive memory. And, in his words, it could help him too. He was so sincere, hopeful and convincing, that after a lot of awkward back and forth, I agreed. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I wanted to help him. Maybe I thought it would be healing for me, that it would feel different if it was someone I trusted. But deep down, I was scared that it would feel just as gross. The next night, I went to his place. We drank wine, too much wine, I could barely stand, but at least it eased the nerves, fumbled through awkward small talk, and eventually made our way to his bedroom. It was awful, even though he clearly cared and was trying to be as gentle as possible. Some parts of it were sweet too, like how nervous he was and how he complimented me a lot, but everything else grossed me out, no matter how much I tried to take my mind off them. The moment it started, I knew I'd made a mistake. I tried to focus on the fact that it was Nick, someone I cared about deeply, but every touch brought back flashes of that terrible first time. My mind kept screaming at me to stop, but I didn't know how to. I didn't want Nick to be upset with me after I told him to stop. I just shut down, completely disassociated, and waited for it to be over. Thankfully, he barely lasted during the fucking part. Finished in like 10 seconds tops. He even wanted to finger me after it, but I definitely wasn't in the mood to teach him anything, so I told him that I enjoyed it even without the orgasm. When it was done, Nick was ecstatic. He told me it was better than he ever imagined, and thanked me like I'd done him some huge favor. I smiled and told him I felt the same, but inside, I felt broken all over again. Worse than before. We did cuddle after and it made me feel kinda better. I ended up praising him for how wonderful he was too, but I'm still disgusted with myself and feel like I never want to have sex again. Now it's been a few days, and I can't even bring myself to talk to him. I've had nightmares about my first time, as funny as it sounds. He keeps texting me about how much closer this has made us, and I just want to scream. Closer. I feel like I've ruined everything. I feel terrible about myself for doing this, and even more so for lying to him about liking it. I was so sure I'd never have sex again after, and now I wish I'd stuck to that. All I've done is make it worse. And in the process, I think I've destroyed one of the only friendships that mattered to me. TLDR, pity screwed my virgin friend Nick, thinking it would be healing for both of us. It wasn't. Now I feel like I've betrayed him and destroyed our friendship. Update, I finally met up with him. I was very anxious, but I had to. When I got to his place, he greeted me with that warm, hopeful smile that always made me feel safe, but this time it made me feel even more guilty. We sat on his couch, and I struggled to find the words. My hands were shaking and my throat was dry, but I started to explain. I told him the truth, I didn't enjoy what happened between us, and it brought back too many bad memories. As gently as I could, I let him know that I couldn't do it again and that I wasn't ready for anything romantic or sexual. The smile left his face. I saw his shoulders slump, and then the tears came. He apologized over and over, saying he didn't mean to hurt me, that he thought he was helping. He also told me that he's in love with me. I wanted to say something comforting, but I knew I couldn't offer him what he wanted. Instead, I told him that I cared about him too and hugged him. I don't know how long we sat there, silent except for the occasional sniffle. Eventually, he broke the quiet and told me he just didn't care that I didn't want sex, as long as I'd still be his friend. We cuddled for a bit after. It was nice, until he got a boner. Now I feel even worse for not helping him out, even though he didn't ask me to. How do I even stop feeling this guilt? Stories number 8. I, 24F, placed an ultimatum on my 30M partner. Is that bad? I, 24F, have been dating my boyfriend, 30M, for over 6 years. We've discussed engagement over the past few years, and we even bought a ring over a year ago. When I recently asked him about when he might propose, his response shocked me. He said he still needs to figure out if we're a good match after 6 years. As the daughter of traditional Mexican parents, they've told me that if we're not moving toward marriage, we should consider going our separate ways. Back in June, I told him I was ready to get engaged, especially since we both have our degrees, full-time jobs, and are financially stable. Despite that, he keeps telling me he's not ready. I finally told him that if he doesn't propose by the end of the year, I'm done. I feel like 6 years is more than enough time to know if I'm the right person for him. Is this ultimatum reasonable, or is there something deeper going on? Stories number 9. My F54 husband, M51, has been having an affair with his ex, F, in another state for 3 years. Tell me I am going to be okay. The title pretty much says it all. He left his phone on the dinner table. It wasn't his regular phone, and we'd had guests over, so I picked it to see what was what. No surprises for you, dear reader, he's been texting back and forth with her. I stopped reading after the first 10 lots of exchanges. Everyone, including me, has always thought that he was the good guy, because he always acts like one. But he just wants to be thought of the good guy, he doesn't want to be a good person. I drove to a friend's place to unravel, and the more we talked it out with my friend, J, 49, has been an observer for years, and this was the last piece in the puzzle for some many unexplained things. I'm okay, and I think I'm going to be okay. But I need some reassurance that I can manage this divorce and still keep my dignity. Just send me love and hope tonight. I think that is all I am capable of receiving. Sorry this is all over shop, I don't know how to feel. I'm numb. Stories number 10. I, F20, found nudes on my boyfriend's, M23, phone. What now? Last night, I, F20, went through my boyfriend's, M23, phone while he was sleeping because my intuition was telling me that something was up. I went through almost everything and it came up clean, but then I found this folder labeled Shushing Face in his Google Drive. I clicked it and a bunch of other folders came up. Each folder had a girl's full name on there and contained their nudes. Worst of all, there was a folder labeled with my name. I went through them all and even found some pictures of him and a girl in his car after they did the deed. This isn't the first time he's done stuff behind my back. He was talking to some other girl in Florida while we were exclusively talking. He was even going to go over there to meet up with her until I found out about everything. He kept saying that I shouldn't have looked through his phone, he just wanted to make some out-of-state friends, and that they were nothing else but friends. Ever since then, I've been on the edge with this guy, but after finding those folders, I don't know what to think anymore. I'm hurt, confused, and lost. I don't even know what to do. Please help. Edit. Hi everyone. Thank you for your input. I deleted all of the pictures and made sure they were completely gone when I saw them the first time. I confronted him about it this morning and, yeah, I'm running for the hills. He had the audacity to say that it was normal for guys to have pictures like that. He also told me that his uncles and cousins do it too, so why shouldn't he? I was beyond shocked. Like, excuse me. What the actual fuck? It's normal for guys to disrespect people like that. I don't think so. I may be young, dumb, and inexperienced, but that response was diabolical. Thanks for helping me dodge a missile Reddit. Stories number 11. I, 24F, am not sexually active. Is it weird to let my boyfriend, 30M, have one-night stand/casual relationships? Me and my boyfriend have been dating for about 3 years, met in uni while he was in his PhD. We are a perfect fit for each other, except that we have been getting into arguments recently because I became sexually inactive the last year and a half. I feel that it's because of my med school program giving me a ton of stress. We love each other to death, but while his libido is active every few days, my limit is usually twice a month. We were thinking of getting counseling, but my boyfriend feels embarrassed having to talk about this. Will it be very bizarre if I am okay with my boyfriend having casual relationship with other women until I am ready to become sexually active again? This isn't some easy decision for me either, but he has broken down recently when discussing this situation and I feel horrible. Stories number 12. Is it okay if my boyfriend, 33M, doesn't want to cook? I'm 30F, his mother told him he doesn't have to cook if he doesn't like doing it. I, 30F, have been dating this guy, 33M, for 1 year now. He moved into my house right away. I cooked for him practically daily for the entire year, despite having a very busy job. He is also very messy, so I cleaned after him all the time. He never offered to help with cooking. His reason: I don't have talent for cooking like you do, cleaning, or any chores around the house. He did help do some minor things like putting dishes in dishwasher or taking them out, but only after I asked him repeatedly, never voluntarily. I'm sometimes baffled at how much common sense he is lacking in general. For example, the one time he did try to cook, he didn't even put in oil. He claimed he doesn't know cooking oil's existence, resulting in complete ruin of the pot. In fact, he doesn't even know how to use tie twister to seal the bread back. It's not like his family is super rich or anything for him to get away with this much ignorance. Even Kardashians know how to cook. I tried to teach him how to do simple cooking many times, but he doesn't really want to learn. We live in a rather small city, so if I don't cook, it's going to be fast food or greasy fake Asian food that day. And he's picky eater too. I'm okay with eating leftover from multiple days in a row, but he wants fresh and different food every day, so I have to cook daily. I complained to him, begging him to cook just some simple things like pasta, air-fry salmon, or salad once in a while to help out. But he said he talked to his mother about it, and she said if he doesn't like cooking, then he doesn't have to do it. There are two people in a relationship. One has to cook more than the other. What does she mean by that statement? Do they expect me to cook and do chores all the time because I'm a woman? I work 12 hours per day. Is it so horrible to ask my BF to chip in some help to share the housework? I'm just so stressed out to think how nightmarish my life will be once we have kids. Stories number 13. I, 32F, found out my good friend's husband, 34M, is using dating apps. How do I tell her? For context, I was bridesmaid at their wedding just over 2 years ago now. They've been together since university, so over 10 years now. I've seen him be posted on a Facebook group for women who are on the dating scene and I'm positive it's him. The person who posted on that group said they'd met via a dating app and had been flirtatiously talking on Snapchat since then, for a few weeks now. The poster did say they hadn't met up in person, but I feel like most people in the modern age would consider using a dating app actively to be cheating. I got the poster of the Facebook post to message me and confirm the username he was using on Snapchat. This matches the username that comes up when searching the phone number I have for him on Snapchat, so I know it's not a catfish who's using his photos. My concern for my friend stems from the fact that mentally she is not in a good place, having lost her mother recently. How do I tell her what I know? I don't want to send her spiraling but feel like she deserves to know. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. If anyone is of the opinion I shouldn't inform her, can you let me know the justification for not doing so? I am pretty set on telling her, I just know it's going to be difficult. Stories number 14. Great marriage, not so great in the bedroom, 32M, 30F. Any tips? I want to start this out by saying that I'm going to be intentionally vague or slightly change some minor details for privacy purposes. My husband, 32M, and I, 30F, have as great of a marriage as marriage can be. We're highly compatible in so many ways. We've always been drawn to each other, and love each other dearly. We're everyone's go-to couple for advice because we have a very healthy romantic relationship. He's an absolute hopeless romantic, and I adore him. We were friends for many years before we ended up dating. During our friendship, there were always things that kept us from pursuing each other, although he did make it known that he was attracted to me. When the timing was right, we started dating, and over the course of the first couple of years, we moved in together, got engaged, and got married. We don't have any kids. This is a detail I wanted to mention because it is important. However, not having kids right now is not something that has an impact on our personal relationship. We have been sexual partners since we got together. We haven't ever been the type to have daily sex, and the sex was never really anything magical. We've both always had our insecurities sexually, and have spent quite a bit of time and energy on doing what we can to improve that. We're both goofy and a bit awkward in general, but especially when it comes to sexual things. Also, we've both always had work schedules and high-pressure jobs that require us to get decent sleep and sleep on different schedules, so it's not unusual for us to rarely be going to bed together at the same time. I'd like to lay out a little bit, for full transparency. We both have had some issues with not being awkward and insecure, and lack of confidence, in the bedroom, and it's been a hard barrier to break. We've discussed things that we like and don't like. We've done some of the apps and quizzes and games that help with the conversation part of it. We've experimented a little bit with toys and other things to increase pleasure for both of us, vibrators, lube, lingerie, etc. I struggle quite a bit with having an orgasm from sex, so I usually just don't. I don't think that he knows how to deal with that, and I've tried to help with that, but if I put too much thought into it in the moment, I tend to just lose the mood altogether. He struggles with some physical insecurities, mostly related to physical appearance in general. As well as the ability to last long during sex. I tend to get the most enjoyment out of being lightly submissive, not necessarily kinky, but giving my partner full control, and from our conversations, he seems to be interested. But I think he doesn't know how to translate it into action when the time comes. I need to improve on overcoming some of my issues in my own head, relating heavily to having ADHD and depression and insecurities, and learning how to be more vocal, expressive, and involved in our growth in our sex life. We both struggle a little bit with bringing the intimacy and turn-ons outside of the bedroom, like the little things that make you excited to take your clothes off and get in bed. I think that covers the majority of our struggles. I wouldn't say that we have a dead bedroom. Our sex life is just a bit lackluster. If you have any further questions or want me to elaborate on anything, please ask. I am looking for any tips, advice, suggestions, resources, etc., that you're willing to give. Anything that's worked for you, or any suggestions to bring that sexual side of the relationship to the next level. Any tips for sex where both partners orgasm would be amazing. Stories number 15. I 26F don't want to have sex with my 28M boyfriend. How do I fix this? I don't want to have sex with my boyfriend anymore. I have been with my boyfriend for a little over 2 years. Our sex life has never really been satisfying to me. In the beginning I took into consideration that my boyfriend has only had one girlfriend in college and has only slept with her. So I took into consideration that he might not be so experienced. Whenever we have sex he barely kisses me or touches me at all. Our sex goes like this: we kiss for a couple minutes and then he starts being dry with the kisses and takes my hand and moves it to his part, signaling he want me to go down on him. When I start going down on him he will just lay back and just let me go down on him. He won't say anything or touch me. Then he'll either tell me get on top, turn around, or lay on your stomach. Most of the time he'll look away and just pound me as hard as he can. Maybe he'll touch my chest for a few seconds, how explicit I can be with word choice, and kiss me only the lips for a couple seconds. Lots of the time he won't last longer than a few minutes, like 2/3 minutes. Sometimes that will be at other times we will go a second round and it will be exactly the same routine but a little longer. After I will want to just lay there with him and cuddle naked so I at least feel like some sort of bonding and affection, but he will always want to put his clothes back on and won't really like to cuddle for that long. He'll get up to do something or go on his phone or just not want to cuddle. He says he's hot or it feels weird to cuddle naked. I really love him and don't want him to feel insecure and have performance anxiety, so over the past 2 years I've tried to be very nice and say things in a not hurtful way. Once I told him, hey, you know what I noticed? You never go down on me, and he made a grossed out face and starting nodding his head saying I'm not into that. I was upset. He acted like it was gross because I always go down on him and that just made me embarrassed to ever ask for it. On a few occasions I was really dry and he couldn't get it in and I asked him if he could finger me to get me wet and he simply ignored it and just continued to try to stick it until it did. When I asked him why he did that he said he was sorry and that he just thought it was unnecessary. One time he put a pillow over my head and pressed down really hard. I got really scared. He didn't tell me he was going to do it, and when I asked him why he did that, he said he doesn't want his neighbors to hear me. Sometimes I'll tell him to slow down because I'll be so dry that it hurts. He won't slow down and he will just tell me that he's almost done. Last time we had sex he apologized for lasting 2 minutes and I usually say it's okay, but I didn't this time and I finally found the courage to tell him I am not satisfied. I asked him why he doesn't finger me when I ask or slow down when I ask, and he said sorry and he didn't find it necessary. And basically we ended the conversation on a comedic note. We always are laughing and joking, but I honestly did not feel like it was time to be joking because he knew that I was very nervous to have this conversation and that it was important to me. We are long distance currently but see each other often. We have lots of sex. He's coming to visit in a week and I'm finding myself so nervous because I don't want to have sex with him anymore. I'm very horny and do want sex but not the sex he has to offer. I'm so nervous about telling him I don't want to have sex. I know he's not going to be happy. We usually have sex once or a couple times a day. I thought that after that talk he would take me seriously, but I feel like sadly not much will have changed. We haven't had sex since that talk. I don't know what to do. I know if we have sex and it's the same that I will just break down crying because I don't know what else I could do. I've praised him for what's good, repeatedly told him what I want, and have been patient. I don't know what to do. I love him, he's my best friend, but I don't want to have a CC with him anymore. Stories number 16. I 35F want to leave me fiancé 35M a few months before the wedding. Any advice? I'm due to get married in a few months and I'm seriously considering backing out. We argue often, we're rarely intimate, and I think I was happier when I was alone. We've been together 5 years, living together for 2 and have no children together. The wedding is all but paid for and my parents have put more into it than we have. My fiancé is quite a high earner, whereas I earn just above minimum wage and my parents are retired. Nothing is refundable and it would take me around 3 years to repay my parents. I've tried to convince myself it's just the stress of planning, anxiety around a new situation, never having been married or living with a partner before, etc. But a big part of me wants to call it off and run away. I've asked for couples counseling but I can't afford it and he says he can't either. I genuinely don't have the funds and he could easily pay for it, but I guess it's not a priority. Would I be wrong to cancel the wedding at such short notice? Is there any hope for us? Update, kind of. I wasn't expecting anywhere near this number of replies. Thanks to everyone that commented. I found the "I've been there" and, as a parent, replies especially helpful. My parents are loving and I suspect they're more concerned with my well-being than losing money. For those of you that said talk to him, we had a long drive today and I told him I'd post it on here. He asked what I'd written and what the responses had been. I read a few out to him and he picked up on the one about what I'd do if no money had been spent. I said I'd cancel, at least for now, and he said he'd still go ahead with a pensive face that made me feel pretty shitty. I'll give myself next week to make the decision. I don't want to talk to my parents before I've decided because I don't want to stress them out or upset them unnecessarily. Stories number 17. I, 25M, am Israeli and my GF, 23F, is Chinese Malaysian. How should we overcome our nationalities? Hello everyone, I'm writing this as I'm feeling lost and hoping that maybe could share some wisdom/help with similar experience. Me, 25M, and my GF, 23F, have met in Singapore 4 months ago and we both felt our lives have changed ever since. We have strong feelings for each other and we want the best for each other and our relationship to succeed. After dating for a month and a half in Singapore, my GF had to continue her studies in Taiwan, which will end in summer 25. Her field is strongly sought after, so we don't think finding a job for her in Singapore will be a problem once she's done studying. We are basically doing long distance right now, with me visiting her every month. Apart from the typical hardships of long distance, we have a big nationality problem. Malaysians are forbidden from entering Israel and vice versa. My GF is quite brave on this whole thing. She is willing to try to sneak to Israel even though the Malaysian government forbids it. The other way, Israelis cannot enter Malaysia. While it isn't my dream to go to Malaysia or hers to come to Israel, I feel this is important capability for a partner in a relationship, to visit family, friends, attend events, be there when someone's sick, celebrate holidays, etc. even if the center of our lives is in another country. Maybe I'm exaggerating and this isn't really a big problem. But we're both dating to marry and not trying to fool around/waste time. None of us have second nationality. I'm wondering what should we do? How can we overcome this? Has anyone dated/married someone from a hostile/enemy country? The more time goes on I feel like breakup may be inevitable, but I really want to give it our best shot and not give up on something that feels this real and good. TLDR, BF from Israel, GF from Malaysia, no idea how to make it work despite our nationalities. Stories number 18. My 39F partner, 45M, keeps mentioning things about my appearance but when confronted claims to not care. How can I figure out how to look good to him if he won't explain? Together 7 years. One key point is I know I'm somewhat insecure. But also, he's never been my hype man. He's never really mentioned anything about my appearance either way, other than sometimes making negative comments about a few things. However, he's someone who always notices looks and has often commented on looks, both negative and positive, of other women and men. More just observational type comments, but he seems to notice everything. He also told me before that a previous girlfriend, who was quite attractive, made him feel more attractive just by being with her. Anyway, to the current issue, over the years he will make little negative comments, often in a somewhat joking manner, about various things. My coats. My shoes, he will say, "Oh, I see you're wearing those comfortable shoes." He makes comments about my jeans. I have several different styles but he always seems to refer to them as mom jeans, which they actually aren't. He's made comments about my hair. "I don't think a ponytail really suits you, do you?" Lately he has made several comments about my glasses, comparing them, jokingly, to a certain character on TV. It's not a flattering comparison, lol. He called my previous glasses grandma glasses. And so on. I usually will argue with him, these are not mom jeans, what are you talking about? Or I'll just get rid of the item and try to figure out something else that he'll like better. This time, I decided to ask him to please just show me pictures of glasses he likes. Because I truly have no idea and I do want to look good for him. He flat out refused. He said it doesn't matter what he likes, he thinks I look fine. And if I really want new glasses we can go shopping together, but that he truly doesn't care. Maybe he's trying to be nice, but I just read it as him telling me that I never will be overly attractive to him anyway, so it doesn't matter what I look like. When I told him that's what I felt he didn't say anything or protest. I genuinely want to be attractive to him, and so far I'm clearly missing the mark. When I straight out ask him what he likes he claims to not care, but that feels like he's telling me not to bother trying because I'll never truly look that good to him anyway. I might be overly sensitive about this, lol. Any advice? TLDR, partner will sometimes mention something about my appearance or clothes in a negative, joking way but will never tell me what exactly it is he likes. I'm feeling it's because he doesn't think I could ever be attractive to him. Stories number 19. I, 25M, have been saying my GF, 23F, for 5 months. She lied to me in the very early stages of us getting to know each other. I want to know what is the difference between holding it over her, and simply being aware of her actions and what she's capable of. We were still getting to know each other, texting throughout the day, talking about our future together etc. It was about 9 p.m. when I asked her what she was doing, to which she said she was watching a movie with her family. She didn't reply again until almost 6 hours later with a sweet message explaining that she passed out on the couch and her dad woke her up to go to bed. Months later we were going through our old messages and we stumbled upon those and she checked her Snapchat, and she was actually hanging out with another guy and having sex with him that night. A guy that she assures me is a close friend and nothing to worry about. Now for the current issue at hand, whenever she asks me reasons why I have a hard time trusting or believing her about things, I bring up that situation and how easily and detailed she could lie to me just so quick. I don't bring it up randomly or use it to make her feel bad, I simply let her know whenever she asks me why. I tell her I know that she is capable of it, and that's why it's skeptical and hard for me to trust her now in the relationship. What do we do now to move forward? She feels like I'm attacking her character, while I feel like I'm simply trying to protect myself from getting hurt or lied to again. Stories number 20. This guy, M25, planned 3 first dates / things and ghosted each, F20. What would be the point of this? So, I was talking to this guy off Bumble. He said he wanted to go on a date. This was like Thursday I think. He said let's go to a coffee shop on Saturday at 3. He asked if I had any coffee shop recommendations and I gave him 3. So Saturday comes around and in the morning I ask which coffee shop did he want to do. He doesn't respond till late at night after seeing my story that I went out. He was like, "Oh, can I come to the club with y'all yada yada." I said we're going to a movie not a club. Then he texts me like, "Oh, let's go out tomorrow, Sunday / as I'm typing this. He said let's go to this specific spot at 3 p.m. 2:30 comes around and he texts me to ask how far I am from getting there. I say 15 minutes. He's like, "Dang, I am still getting dressed," so I say no worries, I can wait a bit. 3:30 and I ask when he's gonna get there. He says 15 minutes. Well, that turns to 25 minutes and he still isn't there, so I text him saying I'm going home. I ask like, "Hey, so were you just never gonna show up to begin with?" He doesn't respond till like 6 after I took some screenshots to send to my friend. You know how Snapchat be snitching, and he was just like he had car trouble. No sorry or anything. I'm like, yeah okay, it would have took 2 seconds to say that instead of having me wait there an hour. He was like, "Oh, I was on the phone trying to get it fixed." So now he said, oh, let's do a call at 9 p.m. Well, 9:15ish he's like, are you free now? I say yes. Nothing, then I ask if he's free, he says to give him 5 minutes. Well, now it is past 10. I don't even care, I am just bewildered. I'm not upset by it, I just want to know why someone would do this. Like, why waste someone's time? Like, why would someone do this? Wasted my weekend waiting on him. But what would he get out of this? It's not like he's a catfish, cause I mean I'm not giving him anything. I am just confused about what happened. Plus, he planned and suggested all 3 things, so like WTF. Stories number 21. Deleted messages I, 29M, found on her, 24F, phone. How would you react? I, 29M, have been with my girlfriend, 24F, for around 2.5 to 3 months now, and the other day she met a male friend, who she also once dated. Same old story, she told me not to worry about him as she just views him as a friend and nothing more, etc. etc. The day after, I found screenshots on her phone of messages she sent to the guy on WhatsApp and deleted. Even if she didn't do anything, from my perspective the trust has already been broken, as she could have easily said she wasn't interested in anything before he arrived. Instead of saying, if something does happen. Text from WhatsApp. Don't be expecting something though, as might just have a smoke, as don't think Ink can cheat on him. I was saying if it does happen then don't say anything, but not saying it will at all. 115. So don't get hopes up. 115 / as not sure I can do that to him or our relationship, but will have a smoke with you, but don't think I'm meeting you just to do something, as probs won't be able to bring myself to do anything, as I do love him and will just have that guilt. 115. But if it did happen then don't ever say anything, as it will only happen at the most if I get a bit drunk, but don't know if this is even enough to get me slightly drunk. 116 / as takes me a bit to get drunk, as that would probs be the only reason why things did happen. Oh. 116 / tbh, just don't want you properly expecting something, just wanted to chill and smoke. tbh. 117 / so don't come with the intention of us doing stuff, as that's not why I wanted to see you. I wanted to chill as mates and smoke and have catch up. 117 / I don't want you just thinking we are going to do stuff when we meet, as I see you as a best friend and just want to chill for a smoke and chats. tbh. 118 / if something did happen then it literally would be a mistake and would be a moment that wouldn't get repeated. 119 as I don't know if I can do that to him, so please don't be expecting anything from me, and if you are then don't come if that's what you want, as I just wanted to chill and smoke and have a bit of fun with a best friend, not just to meet with intentions of anything sexual, if that's what you thought. 120 I've locked the door again as it's been half hour since you called. Where are you? She says she has done nothing wrong, but I'm not sure I can trust her again after this. What would you do? Stories number 22. I, 32M, am in a secure, trusting long-term relationship with my partner, 32F, but recently found messages from an old ex. How do I go forward? Hi team, apologies in advance for the long one, but I need your advice. My partner and I have been together for the past 2 years or so, living together for 18 months, and things are going well. The relationship is healthy, there's no trust issues, location sharing, password sharing, we communicate well, we're going on trips overseas, we've met the family, all those good things. However, 2 weeks ago, a ghost from her past reared its head. When we got together, she explained she had an incredibly toxic ex that had cheated on her to the point he was in another full-blown relationship. He was just an overall bad human being. She explained she had been to therapists and took a break from dating before we met, which seems reasonable, and for the most part had no real effect on us getting together. I get it, we've all had a bad ex. Fast forward to 2 days ago. My partner got a new phone and I was helping migrate everything from her old phone, when I saw a whole bunch screenshots of messages that she'd clearly forgotten to delete from 2 weeks ago. They were between her and her ex, discussing how she had a good time at dinner and was grateful for the closure. Evidently he's moving overseas and reached out to apologize. I'm not going to list all the messages, but I'll give you an idea. The messages started off pretty mundane, again saying thanks for the closure, telling him how he'll regret not being able to have her ever again, acknowledging me, etc. But then the conversation shifts. He starts saying he was glad they met up and enjoyed a long hug, and started reminiscing about the past. She says she still fancies him, that she almost struggled to let go of the hug and that she still thinks about him a lot. He talks about how genuine and caring she is, and that he has on a couple occasions wanted to knock on her door, her old place, at the time not realizing we'd moved in together, and do the deed. He's an army fella, so it starts getting a little 50 Shades, and starts talking about how he fantasied about tying her up. In about 1 to 2 messages, not super long. She then sort of messages him saying it would have been hot and joked they should catch up for one last hurrah before he goes, before saying goodnight, and ends the messages. About 8 screenshots worth if you can picture that. So naturally, I confront her about this and she doesn't deny anything. She was quite open in saying, well, he was blocked on all social platforms and hadn't heard from him in the 2 years we'd been together. So for him to reach out so desperately, was a good opportunity for her to get the closure and validation she needs because of the damage he'd done. She explained she didn't want to tell me about it because it would upset me, correct, and that she feels incredibly powerful to have closed that chapter in her life. So I said, well, you told him you've unblocked him on social media now, and you've joked about meeting up in the future, and was even borderline sexting him. She acknowledged she was flirting a little, but was completely joking, possible. She explained about having him on her mind often as some form of PTSD from his psychotic behavior, but reassured me she had not seen or heard from him since we met. I've since taken some time away to think things through, to make sense of it. The question I have for you, is what the hell do I do? Over the past 2 years we've had very little issues, certainly no trust issues, but now for this to happen, I feel completely blindsided. I genuinely feel let down that she had seen him without my knowledge, now feel upset that she thinks about him, but never speaks of him, and now even more upset that she was pretty much sexting him. I feel like I need to leave. What might be your advice? Stories number 23. I, F23, and my BF, M24, have been dating for 5 to 6 months but he isn't communicating with me, what can I do? I, F23, have been dating my BF, M24, for 5 to 6 months and recently his communication has been lacking. As of late his texts have been less frequent, at times he leaves me undelivered for hours or leaving me on open for long periods of time. I've talked to him about his lack of communication already. He's acknowledged that he needs to work on it, but that was a month ago and it hasn't gotten better. Recently he started to ignore or not respond to text about having quality time together or plans to meet up. I've tried to bring it up but he either doesn't answer or starts a new topic. I know the relationship is still fresh but I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't want to break up with him but I'm starting to feel him pull away. If this continues that might be my next option. What more can I do? Stories number 24. I, 22F, just received this text from my boyfriend, 40M. So today I prepared a generous barbecue and invited my boyfriend and 2 Brazilian friends, who are a couple and it's their first time in my country. Barbecue ends, and before they leave, I ask my boyfriend how is everything going. He was traveling the last week with 2 friends so we haven't seen each other. He barely answers everything okay. I perceive a weird vibe. I just prepared all this but seems like you're not happy. I asked him. He answered, you were the weird one. Then they all had to leave so we didn't discuss it deeper. 5 hours later he texts me, Dear L, thank you so much for inviting me to dinner tonight. You've clearly put in a lot of effort and shown everyone how kind and generous you are as a host. That being said, I find it really hard to deal with the way you interact with me and the constant disagreements between us. Our recollections of agreements often differ, and we have very different expectations about how we should relate to one another. These discussions are incredibly draining for me. I'm going through a particularly difficult time right now, mostly due to my health situation, and I feel like I no longer have the energy or patience to keep dealing with this. For this reason, I need to spend tomorrow and the coming days on my own. I ask for your understanding and hope you can respect my need for some space. Wishing you all the best, D. I don't know what to think. We were good. During the barbecue we were having a nice conversation. This confuses me a lot, to be honest, very avoidable situation, since our last fight was 1 month ago, but we discussed and arranged we won't fight anymore and agreed, once we have a disagreement, we gotta have a quiet conversation about it. This wasn't even a fight. It's 2 a.m. and haven't been able to sleep even 5 minutes, he's just so unhappy and I can't see if I did something wrong. When someone asks poor space it always ends up in a breakup, I think. Stories number 25. I, 25F, found sexual Discord messages between my boyfriend, 25M, and a friend. Help. Hello everyone. This morning, I got the random urge to check my boyfriend's phone. This is not something I usually do, but this morning I did it. I went to his Discord app, as that is what he uses mainly for communication with friends. I saw a chat open with a woman who he claimed he used to play games with, but he no longer talks to her. They have had sparse communication recently, but I scrolled back to last year. I found multiple text messages from both of them insinuating sexual things. These are all from May of 2023. Mind you, he and I have been together since October 2022. In March of 2023, we got into an argument because I had discovered Tinder and Bumble on his phone. Here are some examples of their texts. Example 1: her, I'm on him, hi on I'm, his name, her, hot name, goes well with, her name, him, I think it sounds better with her name on top of his name. Example 2 her, feeling better. Him, awesome her, or are we talking about my head game him, maybe both her, wink face him, ayo where can I sign up? Example 3, her, I want his name, special with a side of rough sex him, I'll be there in 8 hours her, see you soon bby him, and a dessert of head to work off the food. I am absolutely disgusted and shaking after discovering this. He's currently asleep upstairs and I want to confront him so bad. I do feel guilty about looking through his phone though. What are your thoughts on this? Thank you. Update, I left. When confronted about the situation, he said he didn't think anything of it when having these conversations because it was all a joke. Really, you didn't think I'd be upset about fucking each other? So I called her on Discord from his phone. She said that he told her we broke up in March, we did over the dating app thing, and didn't get back together until July. She also said that he claimed we broke up because my job was getting too stressful. So basically, he's been lying our whole relationship. I'll insert a message here that she sent me after the fact. Hey, if he's deleted Discord messages, or if he said it over voice chat. But I promise you he told me you were broken up and I remember him telling me you got back together but it was like months maybe even close to a year. I know it's hard to believe because I'm stranger, but you'll see from all our messages, we have never had a thing. And any sexual comment was definitely out of humor and me not knowing you were back together. I've only ever and will only ever see him as a friend, and I always took interest in you and was happy for him and you. I would ask him about you all the time. I know it seems like I'm a shit person but I promise I would never hit on a taken man, I'm not like that. I'm so sorry you're hurting, it must feel like shit to find out the Bumble and Tinder thing, because I had no idea about that too. Please message me if you need anything. Kevin and I have each other's phone number and am going through our messages to see if I can find timestamps for stuff for you. Stories number 26. My 21F, boyfriend, 21M, S female friends always talk to him about their sex life. How do I navigate this? My boyfriend has mostly female friends. And whenever he goes home from college for vacations he goes to see them. Usually it's him and another girl or him and 2-3 girls. They all talk to him in great detail about their sex life. Like how their knee hurt from giving head. And his closest friend is his ex. She always updates him about her sex life. Expects my boyfriend to do the same. But I'm not okay with certain things being shared. This time I didn't want him to share what had happened between us with her but she connected the dots herself, and asked him about it. Recently, when we were fighting he texted her throughout our fight. He said he was just trying to navigate his anger because I was crying and he couldn't put how he felt because of it. But yeah. I feel a pit in my stomach every time he mentions his female girlfriends because 99% of the time it's followed up with something they did in their sex life. How do I navigate this without looking like a crazy person? Stories number 27. My 29F, husband, 34M, doesn't keep up with basic hygiene or cleaning. My husband, 34M, doesn't keep up with basic hygiene. The past year my husband, 34M, brushes his teeth maybe once a week and showers once a week, maybe 2 if I remind him. His side of the room/bed will have food and snacks open and laying around for days. He will wear the same clothes all weekend/days off work. He also sleeps in every weekend until 3 to 4 p.m. despite going to bed around 9 p.m. every night. His only chore around the house is to do the cat litter and clean his areas which most of the time I end up doing. He's not depressed or going through any mental challenges. I've tried the whole, don't clean up after him, let him deal with it, but I cannot stand to live like this. I've expressed to him on numerous occasions to improve and how much it grosses me out. I think I just have the ick now to tell a grown man to brush his teeth and to shower. Would it be bad if I were to divorce him? Like I just can't stand sleeping next to someone let alone having sex with him anymore. Which sucks because I'm trying to have a baby also with him but clearly now I'm not sure. I'm just over dealing with a man-child. Edit. I did not mention he's had past substance abuse issues and is like borderline alcoholic. I get mixed reviews if that's the case since apparently have 2 tall boys a day is not that bad and he's not really stumbling or blurring his words.